Have you ever come across a story that's probably not aimed at your demographic but you really enjoyed anyways? Something that's maybe aimed at the opposite gender or someone younger than you but is still really good? That was my experience with the Mortal Instruments series. I'm pretty sure the author, Cassandra Clare, mainly had teenage girls in mind when she wrote it, but while being neither teenaged nor female, I found it thoroughly entertaining. The Mortal Instruments series is set in what is, for all appearances, modern-day New York with one twist. There are demons. Oh, and vampires, fairies, warlocks, werewolves, and so on. You get the picture. The story follows Clary, a normal teenage girl who gets drawn into this magical underbelly of New York after overseeing a fight between a demon and some shadow hunters in a nightclub. Shadow hunters are people who go around hunting demons. The story that follows is equal parts supernatural romance and urban fantasy. You have your standard demon slaying and vampire staking, but you also get your classic love triangle, late night romantic meetings, and forbidden love. Interestingly in this case, the forbidden love mentioned is not due to parental disapproval, but because it's incestuous. But I won't say any more about that to avoid spoilers. Clary is the heroine of this novel. She's smart, headstrong, and compassionate. She also has a tendency not to listen to instructions. If you tell her not to go somewhere, she probably will, and then realize after that, maybe I should have listened because there's a demon here and I don't have any weapons. So, maybe I should revise my previous statement and just say she's smart when she's not being contrary. As the main character, she's also the center of most of the romance in this series. Next up is Jace. Jace is a teenage shadow hunter and Clary's love interest. At first glance, he's an arrogant, smart-aleck pretty boy and the type of person that irritates the hell out of me in real life. At second glance, he's an angsty teenager with a troubled past. Neither of these sides would make him particularly endearing to the reader, but they balance each other out, making him more likable than if he just had one of these traits. Also, his smart mouth is matched by his combat ability, which makes his arrogance seem a bit more justified. Then we have Simon. Simon is a childhood friend of Clary's and a bit of a geek. When Clary gets dragged into the world of the Shadow Hunters, Simon follows, and his reception is slightly less warm than hers is. For some strange reason, he doesn't seem to get along particularly well with Jace, but this gets worked out later in the series. Another important character is Alec. Alex is Jace's Parabati, a shadow hunter term for warriors who fight together. Unlike Jace, he's quiet, serious, and actually gives some thought to responsibility. He is also, spoiler alert, gay, and is one of the best developed homosexual characters I've seen in a book. Next up is Magnus. Magnus is an 800-year-old immortal bisexual warlock, who occasionally helps out shadow hunters. He dresses up flamboyantly, has an odd sense of humor, and is quite interested in Alec. Lastly, there is Isabel, who's Alec's sister. She's tall, beautiful, and seems to enjoy antagonizing her parents by taking inappropriate boyfriends such as fairies. She is also a fairly strong fighter and is actually ahead of her brother in terms of combat. Although she seems to be a bit cold and snobbish at the beginning of the book, she warms up significantly through the course of the series. This series has both action and romance down pat. It gets interesting very quickly and is hard to put down. The dialogue is also generally clever and full of references. I do have several issues with it though. One is that there were some parts of the plot that I had already seen elsewhere, and a number of the plot twists felt a bit too predictable. My other main complaint is that the series didn't end after book 3. The author originally stated that she intended this to be a trilogy, and the third book has a nice conclusive ending, with everything more or less settled. However, she then decided to go on and write another 3 books. The experience of reading this series feels like having a fun day at the beach, going to bed, just getting nice and warm, and then getting dragged out again and told, "Let's go to the beach again." The second half of the series isn't bad, It just felt like it should have finished after the first half. The Mortal Instruments is a fun series to read. It has few flaws which are easy to ignore as you get wrapped up in the story. Overall, I give this series an 8 out of 10. Also, before I finish this review, I should mention that there's also a movie coming out based off the first book in this series, City of Bones. Hopefully this will turn out alright, but I have my doubts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review. Feel free to post any comments. Thank you for listening. I want to dance in my new